Good morning. I'm Willie Bragg. I am here. I was going to do a live stream last night after I did Braglands, but I was just too tired and I already had the material I needed to have. And I just figured, I better talk about this while the news is relevant right now at the moment. So here I am, bright and early. And I just want to go ahead and talk about Robert F. Kennedy. So before I do, let me say hello to Eva Lynch on Twitch this morning. How are you doing today? I hope you're doing well. And a couple other people that showed up. I also hope you are all doing well. So you probably know by now what's happened on the news, with regard to this, what seemingly seems like a weirder election cycle. Each election manages to get weirder than the previous election cycle. I have noticed that. I suppose y'all have too. So what I want to discuss basically is the 2024 race, because after all, that is relevant today. So we know damn well. We know that what's not a good situation, and that's a likely repeat, unless some weird things happen. A likely repeat of 2020, Joe Biden versus Donald Trump. And that's not good. I mean, in 2016, Donald Trump was a reaction against what was the norm. 2020, people got tired of all that anti-establishment sentiment that Trump was providing. Well, basically, that's not 100% true. He campaigned in 2016 as a right-leaning populist. But once he got into power, just like Democrats, Donald Trump governed like what you imagine a Mitt Romney presidency would be. And anybody who would tell me any different from either side, they're full of shit. And I'm correct. There's just no if, ands, or buts behind it. Now, thing about it is that regarding 2024. And both Donald Trump and Joe Biden are doing something very similar in the primaries when you think about it. Right now, the Democratic National Committee are saying, no, we don't want Marianne Williamson and Robert Kennedy Jr. in the primaries. We're behind Team Biden, same difference. Team Biden all the way. And so they're closing out the primaries. And honestly, on its surface, while they're doing this to protect Biden, this is very, very dangerous toward democracy. I know the Democratic Party, the Democratic National Committee is a private institution. Who fucking cares? If you're a Democratic Party, you got to be pro-democracy, meaning you got to have as many voices as possible. And they don't want that. They're trying to protect Trump. And this is their latest version of what they did in 2016 and 2020. Yes, I'm going there. I am. It is essentially a repeat. And honestly, like you could just have so many leftovers before you get all upset and like no more of this shit. It's a repeat of 2016 with essentially Bernie Sanders, in my opinion. It's not opinion, it's fact, getting screwed. Now, why I put Bernie and Tulsi together? Because they are both relevant in the year 2016 and 2020. Tulsi basically told the truth in 2016 what the DNC were doing, and they never forgave her for that. And for all the people who are even correct to criticize some of the Tulsi's more recent right-leaning direction, and I have my criticisms too. there's always going to be an amount of admiration I'm going to have for her for exposing the Democratic National Committee for what it was doing to Bernie Sanders at that time. Now, I don't really defend Bernie Sanders anymore the way I used to, but I am thinking he was done wrong in 2016, and he was done wrong in 2020. Tulsi Gabbard was also done wrong when she ran for president in 2020. So, and here's the thing: Marianne Williamson, Andrew Yang, yada yada yada. They were all the so-called lesser voices and underdogs were basically their voices were suppressed one way or the other. And I am very resentful. And what I resent is corporate Democrats telling the progressives that they had to fall in line behind their leader. Because if you don't, you're basically enabling Donald Trump. You could just say that so many times for me to really give a flying fuck anymore, honestly. Because I would even admit in 2017, I was in 2018, I was just like, well, I don't want to be the reason why Trump, I did that a little bit, because I had so many people just pile on me like a pile of bricks about, how wrong it was that I voted third party for president. And how dare I even voted for Bernie Sanders in the primaries. Fuck off, Clintonites. Fuck off. So anyway, so there was that. And so the latest version of this is, basically what they're doing to, Marianne Williamson. Because, they're basically trying to silence, they're trying to silence her. Now, I got some criticism of Marianne Williamson. By all means, she's not perfect. I criticize her all the way because she is not a perfect individual. But, is she better than Biden? Is Robert Kennedy better than Biden? Absolutely fucking lootly, they are. Doesn't mean that I am for. There are things I like about Marianne Williamson. There are things I like about Robert F. Kennedy, and there are things that I can't stand about either one of them. I have issues with them. Obviously, they're in the Democratic Party, and that's an issue in itself, because the Democratic Party is America's other conservative party. I make no apologies for saying that. Also, considering that the Democratic Party, what they're doing to suppress speech in the name of preserving democracy, quote unquote, is Orwellian on its surface, and I don't go for that either. So now I have some critiques that applies to Marianne Williamson, and she's by no means perfect or what have you. I don't care if she officiated the wedding of Kyle Kulinski and Crystal Ball. I'm not a fan like I used to be, but I still don't think that's that big a deal. It's not like that conflict of interest was going to translate into a nomination process for Marianne Williamson. There was going to be some kind of coronation for her. So I think that was back then. That was all to do about nothing. But so let's go to the next person here, and that is Cornel West. Cornel West, as you all know, is my choice for 2024. To me, it's a no-brainer for me personally. Now, if you're comfortable about voting for Robert F. Kennedy or Marianne Williamson right now, and that's the hill you're going to die on. I mean, I'm not okay. I made my opinion. I'm not judging whatever you do. The only people I'm judging are the people who are going to vote for Trump and vote for Biden. I judge them, but I'm not judging those that are supporting Marianne Williamson or Robert F. Kennedy, even though I have some ideological problems with them both. But Cornel West is my choice. But I also have a problem with one aspect of Cornel West in the 2024 campaign. And no, it's not the little back and forth battle between Jimmy Dore and Cornel West going back a couple of weeks ago. My position is that they both had a point of view, and and you have to look at it being it is what it is. They had a point of view, and neither of them were really incorrect. I just think that there's more important battles to fight than whether you go the Jimmy Dore Highway or the Cornel West Highway. One doesn't have to be exclusive from the other. But the problem with Cornel West, which is why I'm more subdued about my support for Cornel West as opposed to Bernie Sanders years ago, would be, you see the man on the left there. Does he even deserve to be labeled as a left in any meaningful sense of the word? It's Peter Dow. I'm sorry. I just cannot trust Peter Dow. It's my opinion. I listened to the interview earlier this evening. It was from a couple of days ago with Savvy Sabs, where she was interviewing Peter Dow. I'm not convinced. To me, it sounded very rehearsed what he had to say about supporting Cornel West. I can't really forgive those that were around in 2016 whining about the Bernie bro narrative. And same with the 2020 people who were doing the same thing. And anybody who was talking about the toxic Bernie bros, even now that Bernie Sanders ain't base anymore, it's pretty much still all of us who were supportive back then in my audience. We gave Bernie our support. We're disillusioned from Bernie, and we're distancing ourselves from Bernie. Some of us are saying completely to hell with him. Some of us are like, well, lukewarm, which is where I'm at. I would vote for him for senator if I lived in Vermont, but no way I would ever contribute a dime to him. No way would I ever want to see him run for president again after what he let happen to him in 2016. Cornel West needs to be wary of Peter Dow. I just don't trust Peter Dow. I'm sorry, I just don't. So there is that. Now let's go back to Robert Kennedy. Robert Kennedy had enough of this shit. So he's decided to do a dirty break of sorts. You can call it a dirty break. The one that, and a lot of people on the left who were supporting Marianne Williamson were wanting her to do a dirty break, and she wasn't willing to do that. Robert Kennedy is willing to do a dirty break. Now, here's the thing about it. Even now that I'm harshly critical of Bernie Sanders, ideologically, overall, he's more on my page than Robert F. Kennedy on a couple of key issues. One, Bernie Sanders supports Medicare for all. And Robert F. Kennedy sounds like just another Democrat. Gives you generalities and tells you why we can't do this. I know about such Democrats. My first conversation with John Edwards, when I first met him, he gave me a kind of all over the place bullshit answer. So I know about these kind of Democrats, and Robert F. Kennedy should know better, and he should be for Medicare for all. That's one problem I have with Robert F. Kennedy. And another problem I have with Robert F. Kennedy is he chose Hillary Clinton and presumably Joe Biden in 2020 over Bernie Sanders. I have a problem with that. If he would have gone third party in either election with the Greens, if he would have gone in any way that could be semblance of the left, I would even let him slide by if he supported Snake Lady Elizabeth Warren, even now, even though I can't stand her. But the problem is that with Robert F. Kennedy, I can't let that slide by. That's a problem with me. But I do commend Robert F. Kennedy over Bernie Sanders with doing a dirty break. Now, as I said, there are things about Robert Kennedy I'm a little leery of, and there's certain things I do admire about Robert Kennedy, and some of the things I do admire about Robert Kennedy, I actually admire him more than I do Bernie Sanders. in some ways, some of the things I like about Robert F. Kennedy would be roughly, but not totally, but roughly the same things I liked about Tulsi Gabbard in 2020. But Tulsi Gabbard was further left in 2020 than Robert F. Kennedy is today. I will argue she's still further left. Now, getting back to what I was saying. So Robert F. Kennedy had it. He decided to lead the Democratic Party. And there's talks possibly of running as a libertarian. Now, running as a libertarian as opposed to running for an independent, as an independent, a generic independent campaign, or starting a new political party might be the smartest thing for him, because Cornel West is obviously going to be the Green Party nominee. We need a left-wing voice. So Cornel West is that left-wing voice. And I'm going to try to interview other left-wing candidates running for president too. We're talking about, I'm going to try, I'm reached out to the PSL, I reached out to the SPUSA, I'm going to reach out to any other political party that's on the left that's running an independent campaign. I'm even going to try to reach out to Cornel West, but I will understand if he doesn't get back in contact with me. So, regarding Robert Kennedy, a lot of the Democratic establishment are upset because, oh my God, he's going to take votes away from Biden. He's going to take votes away from Biden. Well, here's the thing: Biden should have actually been a better president than he's been, and this wouldn't be necessary. Same thing when it comes to even more so with Cornel West, and so they're going to say, well, he's going to take votes away from Biden, but he may, because a lot of Democrats want to vote for a Kennedy. But there's a lot of Republicans that kind of like the Kennedy name too, believe it or not. Maybe not Ted Kennedy, and maybe not former Congressman Joe Kennedy, which I could understand, because that's a son of a biscuit if there ever was one. I can't stand him. He's definitely a corporate Democrat regarding Joe Kennedy in Massachusetts. But regarding Robert F. Kennedy, there's aspects of him that will make him, I guess you could say, just right for the Libertarian Party in that regard. So he might take votes away from Trump, which will make the race more competitive. So I know Republicans are happy as they can be about Cornel West in the race, and I will understand why. They need to. They also consider that they may also have votes taken away from them by Robert Kennedy. So the race just became very competitive as far as I'm concerned. As far as I'm concerned, it's hard to make a call out who's going to be the ultimate winner in 2024. So, and we'll find out. It's a long time. Anything can happen between now and then. We might not even see Joe Biden on the ballot. He may step down, or he may just serve the rest of his term, and they could do something lame like appoint Gavin Newsom as their Democrat. And don't write off about the Republicans getting behind Donald Trump. There's still a lot. You look at that embarrassing display the other night with the Republicans debating. It was like they were like, well, Donald Trump is much of an asshole as Joe Biden, as far as I'm concerned. Which I could almost agree with that, but maybe not from their perspective. But in principle, I do agree with that. But it may not be. It may not be Donald Trump. You may see Ron DeSantis. You may see, Nikki Haley or something lame ass like that up there. So I mean, Mike Pence, forget about it. He's basically Ron DeSantis with more mousy and more polite manners. Who went to gay conversion therapy, referring to Mike Pence. That's the truth, by the way. That's not a slander. Mr. Social Conservative, Mike Pence. Getting back to what I was saying. There's some controversial things about Robert F. Kennedy. Shit libs don't like his position on the vax, and a lot of them are not liking his relatively anti-war positions on the Ukraine. And that's one thing I do like about Robert Kennedy. I'm middle of the road on the vax. Okay. I'm not pro-vax mandate, and I'm not anti-vaxxer. My position on the vax versus non-vax is that's not an issue. The issue is you get free healthcare when you get the COVID, or get any disease for that matter, because healthcare ought to be free for everybody. That's my position. It's my position on civil libertarian grounds that you should have free healthcare, and still that should be your choice whether you should have the vaccine or not. I am on the side of, I think that does personally work. I am vaccine boosted, but I'm not judging you if you refuse to take the vaccine. I do not think any less of you for doing it. The only people I think less of when it comes to the vaccines are the really belligerent people on both sides who wants to be an asshole about it. The pro-vaccine people who wants to basically make it mandatory, and the anti-vaxxers who basically want to ban the vaccines and basically want, and shit on you, even if you're, if you're like moderate and say it's my body, my choice on the vaccine, which you would think some of these conservatives would be like, I guess that's acceptable. A lot of them think they'll sit there and call you a sheep. They'll sit there and call you a follower. And I have a problem with that as well. So there is an authoritarianism, especially among the right-leaning members of the anti-vax movement. Now, there are some who are just libertarian in general. I have no beef with libertarians in general. As I said, I have a point of view about libertarians that may not be shared by the left, and I have no problems generally other than economic disagreements. But I like the idea of a lot of personal choices being left up to you with very little interventionism by the states, as far as you being you as an individual. But on the economics, I reject libertarian economics. And I say that with due respect to those within the libertarian movement who politely beg to differ. And I am okay with a thoughtful dialogue with libertarians, but I will argue that on economics, I am very, very much for socialism. My type of socialism. It's not the Soviet Union. It's not that type of socialism. It's more like the socialism of Great Britain after World War II, or this model that exists in Norway and Sweden. I would say something in between. Because Britain were correct to focus on nationalization on key industries. The Norway, Sweden kept a relatively private sector as a road towards socialism. But that's kind of a nuanced argument there. I would say probably the best example is Tito's Yugoslavia, a decentralized public ownership, I like to call it. That might be the closest to the ideal. And we can, again, I would love to have a conversation with people who may have a libertarian point of view that would love to have a thoughtful discussion about that. If there's anybody like that in the audience, just contact me on Twitter and we will talk about it. Let's get back to Robert Kennedy. Robert Kennedy. So, again, my critiques of Robert Kennedy. Things I like about Robert Kennedy: he's anti-war, he's pro-free speech, he's for the abolition of the Espionage Act of 1917, and he's pro-Julian Assange. Amazing how somebody could be pro-Hillary Clinton and pro-Julian Assange at the same time, but I guess there are exceptions to that rule. Well, his support for Julian Assange overrides his really flawed support for Hillary Clinton. So there is that. But what I want to discuss basically is another area where there is a point of content when it comes to Robert Kennedy, and he ran across a little bit of snag in in his movement to run for president amongst, I would say, certain anti-imperialist sentiments on the left, and very much I'm in line with what they have to say overall. So this is from Mark Critelli, and I agree with what he has to say here in large parts. And I want to go ahead and read this to you and give you my take on this. And he says here, boggles my mind that anyone is getting duped by this independent con artist. Yeah, he makes pretty noises with his face hole about being pro-free speech, anti-censorship, and anti-mandates. How low have our standards slipped at that those stances aren't the default positions? Very true. Very true. I'm interjecting very there. Also, let's forget the fact that in the past, this lifelong Democrat stumped for the queen of the warmongers over Sanders in 2016 after she helped decimate Libya, Haiti, Honduras, etc. Made pro-Russiagate statements. Threw Roger Walters, an initial friend and ally, under the bus when it was politically advantageous, convenient to do so. Comes from wealth and privilege. A political dynasty. Initially announced his candidacy in a corrupt as fuck, pro-war, anti-science, anti-worker, anti-union, pro-censorship party that still has superdelegates. The list goes on. And my comment is, where is the lie? As far as policies go, don't want anyone thinking I'm knocking him for past transgressions. RFK doesn't support single-payer health care, Medicare for all, that is. Wants to keep qualified immunity for murderous cops in place. Wants us on a war footing with Iran, which I find problematic too. And as an accompanying image makes him plain, is a rabid, frothing at the mouth supporter of ethno-nationalism. Either you're on the side of genocide or you're not, says Nick Cruz. He's quoting Nick Cruz there. For all those reasons and more, I'm not swayed, excited, elated by his pivot to an independent run. RFK Jr. is toxic charlatan, false savior, and everyone would do well to wake up and realize that no one is coming to save us, and how true it is. And as you can see right here, point is that you know his position on Israel is problematic. Problematic in the sense that he continues to support the country. Once upon a time, that there were people on the left, even hard left, that used to support Israel. After all, it was after World War II and what the Jews went through in Germany, and Eastern Europe by Hitler and his henchmen. And we know that was unfortunate and universally agreed. It was, however, a mistake to found a country in Palestine. There could have been other places in the world they could have put a new country. I would say it's a form of reparations. United States, Great Britain, France, and the Soviet Union and occupied Germany should have given what was East Prussia to the Jewish people. It would have been better for it to belong in Europe than would have been to put it in the Middle East. I mean, what the hell? People make mistakes, and I understand that. And I support no country in the Middle East. There's not a country in the Middle East I support. I do not support Israel. I do not support Saudi Arabia. I do not support Iran. I don't support any of it. There's not a country in the Middle East that's democratic. And some normies will say, well, Israel is. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. I used to believe things like that, but that's what the media would do. They'll go and cater a narrative for you to believe. And you sit there and swallow up mainstream media, you're going to believe these things. And when you wake up and you realize there are alternative information, and I don't mean propaganda and misinformation, but I mean that where people are searching for the truth, it's there. The truth is there. You just have to dig for it. And so, the thing about it is that, it wouldn't be a problem if the Palestinians were not discriminated in Israel. They are discriminated. They're not even allowed to have an infrastructure in the West Bank or in Gaza. And that's what it comes down to. Is it the same as what Hitler did? I would not say it's exactly the same thing. And again, Israel's not the only country that engages in human rights abuses. You can find no country's immune from it. But the point I'm making about Israel is it is guilty of human rights abuses. And they have a monster as the prime minister right now, Benjamin Netanyahu. This monster, when he was the foreign minister, in Ariel Sharon's government, urged George W. Bush, who wanted to go into Iraq, and Tony Blair to go and invade Iraq. You can see what a clusterfuck and a pile of shit that mission turned out to be. 1 million innocent Iraqis dead. Tens of thousands of soldiers. Our soldiers are either dead or have missing limbs or living in poverty because of what we did to them. Our world did not become safe. Our world did not become safe. And, for what? Based on a lie by secular neocons and also cheered by evangelical Christians, 700 Club Republican types that contaminates the Republican Party, that wants to go and bring on some kind of apocalypse. And that's what you're dealing with. And so we're still living with the pile of shit that was the Bush-Cheney doctrine. Obama didn't end it. He continued it. Trump, in some areas, Trump may have tried to end it. But again, he made the mistake of trying to appease normie Republicans who were Bush-Cheney era Republicans. I'm like, okay, what the fuck are you doing appointing John Bolton as your NSA, your National Security Advisor? But at least he had the good sense to fire that motherfucker. But the point I'm trying to make is that with Robert F. Kennedy, that support for Israel in the year 2023. I mean, it's not like it's 1965, okay? It's not like that at all. Right now, a whole groups of people are being persecuted in Israel, the Palestinians. And that's what it comes down to. It is not anti-Semitic to sit there and criticize that. But the narrative would be any criticism, even the softest criticism against Israel or against Netanyahu, even more so, people will be like, you're an anti-Semite. Not at all. Not at all. I hate what Saudi Arabia is doing to the people of Yemen. Does that make me anti-Saudi Arabian? Does that make me anti-Muslim? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Russia-Ukraine war. I pointed it out. What Ukraine has done. Ukraine has banned 13 political parties. They have banned oppositional media. They have suspended elections, banned collective bargaining, banned the Russian Orthodox Church, mistreats the LGBTQ community far worse and surpassing Russia. All the shitlibs who are correct about Putin's mistreatment in Russia, you're correct. Ukraine's worse. And for what? And then tolerate a special list. I'm not going to go into detail what that list is called because this video can be pulled down, but it's pronounced Myroveres. I hope I'm not butchering the Ukrainian pronunciation of it in Ukrainian, but they have a special list for people who are high profile around the world who criticizes this U.S. NATO proxy war that's going on. And certain people up there, people like Noam Chomsky, Henry Kissinger. I know Henry Kissinger. Stop clock gets right time twice a day. Chris Hedges, Jimmy Dore, Aramate, Amro Parel. I cannot pronounce her name. Max Blumenthal's wife from the Gray Zone. Jackson Hinkle, Scott Ritter. There's a lot of Americans on this special list. Greta Thunberg is on this list. Gerhard Schroeder is on this list. Roger Walters is on this list. You know what I'm talking about, folks. You know that special list I am referring to. And we sit there. Tulsi Gabbard is on that list. Glenn Greenwald is on that list. Rand Paul is on that list. And, you know, we do nothing about it except, when a World War II Ukrainian veteran who's 98 years old served with the Waffen SS, what do? They go around and thunderously applaud. Yay, 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 yay. What the fuck is wrong with people? At least Robert Kennedy's correct on this Ukraine conflict for overall. So, but the point I'm trying to make, you're not anti-Ukrainian for what I just said about Ukraine. Oh, I forgot about the ethnic cleansing of ethnic Russians in Donbass. Why are we tolerating this? Why are we tolerating Russophobia? This is the new phobia we are suffering from. Now, 9/11 happened, and what did we do with 9/11? We sat there and acted like all Muslims are strapping dynamite, shouting Allah Akbar, and committing random acts of either lone wolf violence or getting orders from the mullahs or what have you. That's the perception people had after 9/11. Now they're doing the same thing with Russia. Everything that happens is Russia's fault. I like, for example, I'm going to be facetious. I went and stumped my toe in the bed a couple of mornings ago after working graveyard shift, and I was like hopping mad. Damn it! Vladimir Putin caused me to go and kick the bedpost. That's how ridiculous it has become. But so I'm glad that Robert Kennedy's anti-war voice, but there are things about Robert Kennedy that needs to be addressed, and you need to be intellectually honest. Now, as far as the presidential race in 2024, I am glad the more the merrier, as far as making the race complicated and making the two parties sweat. Because the two parties don't give a flying fuck about us. All they care about is culture war, and sucking up to corporate dollars. That's all they care about. They, even those on the top, the pro-life right wing and the shit-lib pro-choicers who are millionaires and billionaires, the donor class, they don't give a damn about abortion. They care about people in the bottoms fighting each other. They don't care. They may have differences about transgender people as a concept, but they care more about seeing people fighting each other in the bottom than they are about this issue. Doesn't mean that I don't care about these social issues. I do care about these social issues. I care about it. I take a civil libertarian approach on it. Everybody has rights. Social progressives have rights. Social conservatives have rights. Neither of them have a right to oppress each other. Can we agree with that, folks? I hope we can agree with that. That's my old school ACLU mindset. That Matt Taibbi said that he identifies with. So do I in that regard. That's the tradition I come from when it comes to the social fabric of society. Government, right wing, and liberals leave people alone. Respect everybody's rights on both sides in that regard. But anyway, I'm going to have to go in a second. But I wanted to discuss this. These are very important issues, and we have here Yankee Tanky. How are you doing, my friend? If RFK goes libertarian, he could actually win. And that's why he's going to have security everywhere he goes. We know the Kennedy, Kennedy history. Thank you for bringing that up, because that is an important point that I omitted by mistake. What a slap in the face by the Biden administration. I'm guessing those are the people on the top that provides security protection for candidates. Even Donald Trump has security protection. Everybody should have it, by the way. I don't want anybody. I really don't want anybody getting hurt. Even people I despise politically. But to deny protection to Robert F. Kennedy, the history. I mean, Tim Black said he said that might be possibly the reason why Biden could lose, and I thought about it. I was like, he might have a point there. But anyway, I wanted to talk about these issues, kind of get it out of my chest, because there are, as I said, there are things that I wanted to discuss and everything. I'm looking over here on the Rumble chat, so there's nobody that's chatting right now. So hi to the 9 people who are watching over there, and anyway, and so I just wanted to have these discussions. And I was going to talk about this last night, but we didn't do Braglands on Friday. Stuff came up, and so we delayed it till yesterday afternoon. I worked graveyard shift, and I was kind of hungry. I was going to go do a live stream, but I was like, nah, I'm going to go have dinner and then come home. And then there was the secret show I had to watch and everything, because I always watch the secret show. So, but about my Saturday night live stream, that's going to be at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time from now on. I just wanted to say that. You can call this a delayed version of it. I just wanted to have some content out, and I want to talk about it while this news was relevant. Interesting that Robert Kennedy is doing a dirty break with the Democratic Party. I can't say that I have any pity for the Democrats with the way that they punch left. And remember, when they wag your finger and you're saying you're being divisive, you're going to make it easier for Trump to win, you answer back to these people, to the Democratic Party. All you ever do is punch left. You may punch left a little bit softer than Republicans, but in some instances you don't. I mean, like, as I said, I recall this many times that the mainstream media that's supposedly liberal were shittier to Bernie Sanders than Fox were 4 years ago. That's really weird. And that's no endorsement of Fox. I'm just saying Fox News Fox News to me and CNN, they're the same thing as far as I'm concerned. MSNBC, MSNBC is where CNN was at one time. CNN and Fox are pretty much just almost two sides of the same coin. And when you go into legacy media like the Young Turks, that's basically MSNBC for hipsters. So, that's my little joke. So anyway, if you all like what you heard, please press like and comment. Comment anyway. If you disagree with what I have to say, we'll have a conversation. As a First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you to create your own platform and utilize it, because we are, in fact, the muckrakers of our time. And also subscribe to the Willie Bragg Show. And I will put that down here on the link on the YouTube link for it. And then I'm going to ask you to subscribe to another show in a second. And that's the Braglands, and I'll tell you about Braglands. Some of y'all already know about Braglands, but for those that don't, I will tell you about it. Well, actually, I'm going to put down the Braglands link right now on the screen, because, hey, you're already here on the Willie Bragg Show, so you know what's up. You know what's up. So, Braglands, here's the link for Braglands. I want to share that with you. And Braglands, give me a moment here. I hope you will give us a chance. Go ahead, subscribe to us on YouTube, and because that's a program that's co-hosted by Jimi Sunderland and myself, Willie Bragg. So please go in and sub to our channel, and that's youtube.com/Bragland Show. So please go ahead and subscribe to that channel. We appreciate your support, and we're trying to grow that channel right now and make something of it. So we usually come on every Friday evening, 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and in between, do the math, So that's where we're at right now. So I hope you'll be able to support the Braglands, and for the people that subscribed to the Willie Bragg Show recently. I've had an influx of subscribers lately. I don't say this often. I don't get a chance to say this often, but I do want to say thank you for your support and thank you for giving my channel a chance. And I appreciate your patience with me when I do run across some technical difficulties and all of that. So I'll conclude by saying reject corporate media, because corporate media has absolutely nothing to offer us, not a damn thing. Take care. I will see y'all later. Y'all do the best. Peace.